Are the Florida State Seminoles about to make a quarterback change?
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Shout out to the everydayers, and thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Go to 5hourenergy.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. I am Alex Donno from Locked On Canes. We got, as always, Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack, and Brian Smith from Locked On Seminoles is nice enough to join us on this episode. We will break down my new ACC power rankings. We'll talk about BC looking competitive against Mizzou, but ultimately falling short. Pitt with another comeback win, this time in the Backyard Brawl. But we're going to open up here with Brian Smith on the Florida State Seminoles. So, Brian, so far, DJ Uiagalelei is completing 56% of his passes, 666 yards. That's kind of bad mojo. 1 touchdown to 2 interceptions in 3 games so far. Is Mike Norvell going to make a quarterback change, Brian, now that the Seminoles are 0-3?
Well, he needs to increase security around him. The fan base is ready, I can assure you of that. But they released a depth chart with DJ at the top of it. And based on the press conference, he gave so much coach speak that it was, we love the guys that are the backups. They were just trying to keep guys from transferring is basically what I thought of it. And unless Luke Cromahawk or Brock Glenn ends up playing in the game, at least rotating in, I guarantee you will hear boos when DJ comes out on the field. Guarantee it. Florida State fans are done with DJU.
So let me ask you this, Brian. What were the percentage odds, right? Let's jump in our time capsule. Let's jump in the time portal a little bit. One day before the Georgia Tech game, what were the odds that this Florida State team comes out of what could be their easiest quartile of the season winless? What say you in terms of odds that was going to happen?
Less than 1%.
Yeah.
There's no way anybody could have foreseen how bad getting your alignment, so you know how important experience is. The offensive line that DJ is protected by had 210 starts career going into the season, and they stink.
Yeah.
The running backs, they're getting hit at the line of scrimmage or behind about 1 every 5 plays. It's like they are 133rd out of 134 teams in rushing. Literally. That is garbage. So DJ's obviously not great. Not going to sit here and argue that. But if the guy's in front of him, because he's a pure pocket passer, old school 1985 Big Ten kind of quarterback, if he doesn't have a run game and a consistent offensive line, it's not going to work. So they don't have that. And then the receivers, let's be honest, they lost 2 NFL guys, an extremely unique H-back that kind of played like a receiver. They lost insane talent. They got all the catches last year, but they haven't exactly killed it either. So there's not a single part of the offense that's doing well. And until the last game, the tight ends had combined for 1 catch for 12 yards.
Oh.
So, everything is above, being just called names per se. I don't like that stuff, but they're all bad right now. There's not a unit on the offense that's not bad. Some might say worse, and I won't comment too much on what some of the live shows I've had at Florida State have been like. Some of the comments I have to skip over before putting them on the screen. But it's gotten ugly. And right now, I asked a simple question. When will Florida State win a football game? They got Cal this weekend. Yeah, I don't see that. They go to SMU. Any road game right now, are you going to feel so good about a team that's 133rd in rushing and averages like 15 points a game? Really? No. They got Clemson in a few weeks. That'll go great. I can imagine Donno is going to be doing all kinds of special dances on TikTok when Miami plays him.
I got to learn how to dance first.
You're going to be shaking those hips on TikTok.
It could go viral. It could go viral.
I would.
So,
oh man,
Florida State, I don't know when they're going to win a football game. That's just my honest opinion.
Does Noel 3-2-1? Do we believe in the curse of the dog poop? Because I see a lot of people on Florida State Twitter saying like he's got to do it if they ever want to win a game again.
I stay away from that guy because that guy's an idiot. I mean, I don't know.
He's staying away from the world right now. He's doing a great job. No public sightings of no 3-2-1.
Look, man, don't ever talk about that. I mean, it don't matter if you're playing it's the perception. And then, of course, it happened too. So it's just like, what are you doing, bro? I get it. I get it. Florida State is just shell-shocked in every way, shape, or form.
So let me ask you this, right? Everybody's piling on Florida State right now, and rightfully so to some extent, with everything that happened this offseason and all the money. You got beat by money powerhouses, Boston College, Georgia Tech, and the richest of the rich, the boys from Memphis, where they say the hard herbs. So with that being said, what's the path to righting the ship for Florida State, or do you see a path to righting the ship potentially?
The one thing in the Memphis game that was interesting, Kenton, was the defense played much better. They were on the field a lot because Memphis, I mean, their quarterback's legit. I mean, he's going to get drafted or at least make the combine, et cetera. And he's an accurate guy. They got a couple pretty good running backs, a couple good receivers, et cetera. But they had the ball 36 and change to Florida State's 23 and change, and they're both grinded out teams. Yeah, and that's like, come on, bro. Defense was gassed, but they held on. They only gave up one score in the second half, so that's a good sign. I know this is kind of comical in a way, but their place kicker and punter are probably the two best players in the nation at those spots. The kicker's got a 52, 54, and 59-yard field goal this year. I mean, he's going to get paid. The mastermind of the punter is legit too. So they just, like, the offense is offensive. That's the thing. Like, you can't do what they're doing. Like, they make your NC State Wolfpack look like the 88 49ers. I mean, it's just crazy.
Hey, we got our Joe Montana. Now, so don't worry about us. Don't worry about what we think.
But I mean, seriously, they're embarrassing to watch.
It's embarrassing. For sure. Yeah.
Well, you already tipped your cap, I think, on how you expect, or at least what the win-loss is going to be against Cal this weekend. And I will remind people that, yes, like Florida State losing to Memphis this past weekend was probably surprising for a lot of folks out there. It was not surprising to Brian Smith. Brian Smith did predict that would happen, that the Seminoles would lose to Memphis and they would start 0-3. I think you already mentioned you don't think Florida State is going to win against Cal this weekend. So part A is, how do you think the game will play out? And then part B would be, if Florida State is going to win that game, what has to happen?
Well, the key here is finding ways to put pressure on Fernando Mendoza. They don't have a great O-line. As an example, I was studying a little bit this morning. UC Davis held Cal to under 3 yards a carry. Not a good sign for your running game. And they got a couple of guys that will probably get paid in the backfield. I've seen them play live at Auburn. They're pretty talented in terms of the skill guys, but not necessarily any burners or anything. They got a true freshman receiver. It's got 4 touchdowns already. Kind of one of those guys that get overlooked. But you got to keep everything in front of you, which you probably will, because they don't take a lot of shots, and try to get them in more manageable situations for your defense. And they got a good pass rush. Florida State does. But at some point, somebody has got to be able to hook up with DJ. They got to get into the 20s in scoring. I mean, God forbid, 12 points this last. Come on, man. 12. Come on. 12. And they struggled to get to 12. So it's really sad. They're going to need a pick six, a special teams play, a scoop and score. If they're going to win, they need a special play. And the Fernando Mendoza kid, who Donno lived right down the street from me because he went to Miami Columbus, that kid doesn't make many errors. He just doesn't. And in the game I saw him play against Auburn, at one point he was literally 20 of 22. I forget what he finished. They kind of caught up to him towards the end because they threw a lot of short passes, but his accuracy is uncanny. So Florida State has to be able to tackle better. Their angles in the secondary against Memphis, I don't know if you two watched any of that, but like they really struggle with switches and stuff. Cal runs a lot of shifts and pre-snap motion. It's an NFL offense. I'm very concerned that Florida State's going to get out schemed and they're going to get a couple freebies. So they got to clean that up too. So I'm not very optimistic.
And for the listeners out there, to speak to Brian Smith's point, he talked about Florida State getting into the 20s. Florida State has not scored more than 21 points a single time this season. Not once in their 3 games so far this year have they put up more than 3 touchdowns worth of points. That just ain't going to get it done, regardless of what conference, regardless of how much better they are than teams. But let me ask you this. Donno talked about how it would play out for Florida State to win. How do you think it's going to go down? What if you had to give the Brian Smith crystal ball, you see what I did there? Crystal ball prediction, what would it be?
I think Fernando will play keep away late in the game, make a couple of clutch plays. There was the game against Auburn on 3rd downs between 1 and 4 yards to go. Here's a stat for you. Cal was 8 of 9. I mean, that's insane. That's 89%. I'm not saying he's going to do that again. And for the record, Auburn has some serious talent at defensive back. I mean, they legitimately do. So is Florida State, but Florida State's surely going to do better than that. But I think Cal will play keep away in the 4th quarter and win a very close game. I don't know the exact score. I need to see a few more things, find out some injury notes before I give a prediction. But barring somebody being hurt that I don't know about, I do think the Bears get the W.
Wow. Well, illuminating stuff here from Brian Smith. And Brian, I hope folks are checking out Brian's work. Help the man keep his sanity during what's been a really tough start to the season. Brian from On Seminoles, thank you so much for taking the time, man, and we'll talk to you again. We'll probably talk to you later this week on the squad. Are you going to be on the squad this week?
We'll see. It's embarrassing. But
we'll see you later this week. Thanks, Brian.
I appreciate it, sir. Take care.
Awesome job there as always. And folks, we're nowhere near done yet on this new episode of Locked On ACC, because you need to start paying attention to what's happening in Pittsburgh and the special freshman quarterback who is not playing like a freshman. Pittsburgh Panthers, I'm going to start calling them the comeback cats with what they've been doing. You guys want to keep it locked right here. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. I'm only getting started with 5-Hour Energy. 5-Hour Energy, it's such a great tool, especially during football season, because I love staying up late to watch all the evening games. I wake up early every morning. 5-Hour Energy, it tastes great, and it gives me a boost in the morning and helps me get through the day. With 0 sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5-Hour Energy website has flavors galore like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and more. There's a flavor for everyone. Try them all. On the site, you even have the option to build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. You choose the flavors, and it's delivered right to your door. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5, hourenergy.com, get some 5-Hour Energy product today. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer only valid till September 30th on one order, cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. Thank you so much for making this episode of Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. For your next listens, make sure you check out the other shows that we do. Kenton does an awesome job on Locked On Wolfpack. They got a big game against Clemson coming up this weekend. I also host Locked On Canes. Miami will be taking on South Florida USF this coming weekend to try and improve on their 3-0 record. You know who else is 3-0, Kenton? That's the Pitt Panthers. And that Backyard Brawl, that game, and I feel like we predicted it pretty well. We both predicted close wins for Pitt. I said high-scoring game. The overall score was, 72, if I do the math correctly on that one. But the most impressive part about that, Kenton, and yeah, we did have some dazzling special teams plays. Pitt had a blocked punt that they returned for a touchdown. But Eli Holstein, their freshman quarterback, who 3 straight weeks, every game he's played in, he's been named ACC Rookie of the Week. And in week 3, he actually also won ACC Quarterback of the Week. So Holstein took double honors this week. If he keeps winning Rookie of the Week, they're going to have to name that the Holstein Trophy starting next year with the way this guy is cleaning up. 21 for 30 in the game, 301 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And you know, Kenton, what impressed me most about Holstein, and I know I raised the question before the game, I kind of wish I hadn't, like, you know, will the freshman quarterback have the poise to step up in a big game like that? He was oozing poise this past Saturday, Kenton, and I love his his pocket awareness and presence, he was out there dropping dimes throughout that game.
The thing that I found so interesting about him is what he could do with his legs. When things broke down, you're right.
Yeah.
He did look to pass, and he was poised in the pocket. But to me, when you have a guy that's that poised in the pocket, normally it's not just because he doesn't want to run. It's because he can't run. Dan Marino famously was a master of manipulating the pocket. 2 steps here, 1 step there, and that's how he worked that thing out because he couldn't run. Dan Marino was slow as dirt. And then you look at a guy like Holstein, the new iteration of Pitt quarterback, and he was their leading rusher. Think about that for a second. That young man played a phenomenal game. He played a phenomenal game. And here's the thing about what Eli Holstein is doing. He is why I love college football. And I know that that's a big statement, but let me clarify it by saying this. He's why I love college football because you and I both thought Pitt was going to be terrible this year. You and I both thought Pitt is in for a very, very long year, potentially a year that sees Narduzzi have to answer some questions and maybe fill out his LinkedIn. Lo and behold, don't get me wrong, Eli Holstein wasn't some unheralded nobody who everybody thought was going to be terrible. He wasn't that. But nobody expected every single week he's going to get better and better and better.
He wasn't even supposed to be the starting quarterback. Like Pittsburgh, they sent Nate Yarnell to the ACC kickoff media days, kind of assuming he was the starter.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I mean by this is why you love college football, because what other sport do you see a guy who is, again, the presumable backup? The other guy gets sent to the event where you send your best, and he just comes out and says, oh, y'all don't know which way to go. I'll make it easy. Follow me. Follow me. I'll lead you to the promised land. Follow me. I'll lead you against Cincy. Follow me. I'll lead you against Pitt in the Backyard Brawl. Follow me. I will lead you to the promised land. He's looking phenomenal. He really and truly is. Pitt overall is looking good. Do they have some problems defensively? Absolutely. Do they have the problem of spotting teams a lot of points before they wake it up? Absolutely. Hey, listen, stop doing it, Pitt. The bettors ain't giving you no favors, okay? The Sharps don't owe y'all nothing, and y'all don't owe the Sharps nothing. But in all seriousness, that is a team that is relentless. They're together, and they got a special guy at quarterback. Those 3 things spells danger for the ACC.
Yeah, they've been, one of probably the 2 or 3 most entertaining teams in the ACC to watch so far. Because, like you said, drama fueled like every single game for Pitt. They're down 3 touchdowns into the 4th quarter against Cincinnati. They win. They're down 10 points with a little over 3 minutes left against West Virginia, and they pull out the win in front of their home fans. So it's been worth the price of admission so far when it comes to Pitt Panthers football. I want to give some props to Boston College, Kenton. Now I know that unfortunately they were only in the top 25 for a week. They were 24th. They have dropped out of the rankings, but you want to give them some credit because they went into Missouri as massive underdogs against the, at the time, number 6 team in the country. And they led for most of that game, and they lost by less than a touchdown. Like BC played so tough against Mizzou. So it's like, I'm not a big moral victories guy, but I'm proud of the way Boston College is playing this year.
I'm not a moral victory guy. I'm a logic guy. If they're the number 6 team in the nation, and this team hung in there step for step, blow for blow, toe to toe, how the hell are they not one of the top 25?
Great point.
You saw what I saw. Listen, there are many people that have proven me wrong this year. Last year, things were smooth sailing. I didn't get proved wrong this much. I look like the smartest guy in the world. This year, I look like a fool. I look like an idiot. And let me tell you, a rapper named Obi Trice said something I'll never forget. A wise man knows nothing. Okay? And I don't know nothing about this thing no more because Bill O'Brien has got those guys playing inspired football, and he's putting Castellanos in positions to succeed. He is constantly putting Thomas Castellanos in positions where he can make plays. Get on the perimeter, make plays with your legs or with your arms. Get on the perimeter, put some stress on that defense. Oh, and by the way, when teams try to account too tough for the perimeter, let's pop them with a draw. Let's work something right up the middle. He's calling some fantastic game plans. The defense, we knew that the talent was there. Donovan Ezeraku, welcome to the party, baby. Welcome to the party. I have talked about him as one of the more underrated pass rushers in the ACC. He's turning into one of the premier guys in the nation this year. And, I struggle to say that I don't believe in BC anymore. I'm right here on the edge, Donno. They're about to pull me on that bandwagon. There's something about Bill O'Brien that's keeping me off, but I'll be damned if they don't got the rope tugging on me.
Well, when we come back, so like earlier today, Kenton, I'm looking at a lot of different, college football news sites and blogs, and I'm looking at everybody's power rankings. I'm like, well, why don't we just make our own? I've got my 1 through 17 ACC power ranking. I also want to give some props to the best quarterback in the country right now. Not Eli Holstein, although he's pretty good. Got to give some props to Cameron Ward because he's climbing up the watch list, Kenton. So you guys want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. And I'm not done with FanDuel. Guys, every Saturday, every Sunday, every Monday night, I love getting action on these college and NFL games. And yeah, you've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now that's a deal. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. And while you're there, you can get wagers on all the big games coming up this weekend, including NC State against Clemson, which we're going to talk a lot about throughout the week. So, guys, make sure you're checking out FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. Thank you so much for making this episode of Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. We're free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also we're on live right now. I mean, if you're watching us, if you're not watching us live, then you missed it. But we're on live right now, so make sure you smash that thumbs up button, hit that like button, subscribe to Locked On ACC. I've been hitting the like button on anything Cam Ward related for the past 3 weeks, Kenton. So
I know. My quarterback's actually good as advertised. We're having a great time. I'm not jealous at all.
75% of his passes so far, 11 touchdowns to just 1 interception. He's been over 300. Like, this guy wakes up in the morning, he's got 300 yards already in the box score. Yeah. 346 yards against Ball State. I know it's not the toughest of opposition, but 346. 5 touchdowns, career high for him. No interceptions in the game. And he has actually, Kenton, and obviously this is something we monitor throughout the entire season. You don't crown a Heisman Trophy winner in week 3 or week 4. I get that. But Cam Ward has climbed now to the top odds in the country at this moment to win the Heisman Trophy. I think he was like 12th or something when the season began. So, so far, not only has he been as good as advertised, I would say Cam Ward has been better than advertised.
Oh, for sure. Cam Ward has absolutely been better than advertised. But, and this is a very big but, this is a situation where Cam Ward has yet to play a Power 4 team that will still have their head coach by Thanksgiving.
See what you did there. Sorry, Billy Napier.
Come on now, Billy. You know what's coming. But in all seriousness, he has yet to do that. Don't get me wrong. This is not me knocking him, because I know how Miami fans get. I know y'all like to tussle. I know y'all like to get a little rough around it. I firmly believe in Cam Ward. He's doing what I thought he was going to do. I said, hey, this is the ACC Player of the Year. He's probably going to go to New York at the end of the year. I am very excited to see how he handles those tough pressure-packed moments. I'm very excited to see that, because those are going to be his Heisman moments. With all due respect, what he did to Florida, that's not a Heisman moment. Right? Like, that's a part of winning a Heisman. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, you need to whoop the wheels off of mundane, below average, bad teams. Absolutely. What he did against FAMU, that's part of a Heisman resume. He needs some Heisman moments, and he'll have his opportunity. I know he will. And I believe that he'll flourish in those moments as well, because this is a young man that's been at those big stages for forever now. I mean, you go back to Incarnate Word, didn't he take them further in the FCS playoff than they've ever been? That's the type of guy he is. He's used to those pressure pack moments. At Washington State, it was a very similar situation where he was the guy. And they run that air raid offense where, objectively speaking, if your QB is not rolling, it's going to be a tough time. So I see Cam Ward as a guy who has the experience in these moments, who's been the guy that's had to be counted on to make it happen. I'm excited to see him continue to make it happen.
All right, so let's go through. You can tell me where I'm wrong, but
Absolutely.
I ranked every ACC football team 1 to 17. I've got Miami at number 1, and I know that outside of a road game at Florida, they've not been seriously tested yet. But it's kind of impossible not to have them number 1 so far with the way that things have played out.
Makes sense.
I've got Louisville at number 2 and Clemson at number 3. I know a lot of people, Kenton, have it a little bit reversed, but to Louisville's credit, they haven't lost yet. I know Clemson lost to one of the top 2 teams in the country, but that wasn't pretty. And by the way, Clemson's only played twice, and I noticed when the new AP Top 25 rankings came out, I noticed they moved up a spot from 22 to 21. So then I'm like, oh well, let me see who did they play this week? I can't remember. They didn't play anybody. Like they moved up a spot because there was one time, Kenton, the only time in my life I was ever named Employee of the Month. This was in 2023, or sorry, not even 2013. So it was more than 10 years ago. 2013 at WQAM 560 in Miami. I was named Employee of the Month in a month where I was on vacation for 2 weeks out of the month. That's like Clemson moves up a spot. They didn't even play last week. So I got Clemson at number 3. And if our guy Lawrence Ross is listening to this or watching this, he will like that. I've got Cal at number 4 in my top 17 so far.
Really? You got Cal above Pitt?
I got Cal. Well,
that's
I got Cal above Pitt. I mean, listen, but you could argue Cal has beaten a better team than anyone Pitt has faced so far. Is that right?
That's fair. Well, here's the thing. I'm leery about Auburn at Jordan Hare. They have a tendency to get relaxed and get the wheels whooped off them by teams that are, that's the same team that we saw get beat up on by New Mexico State, right? Like, with all due respect to the Mountain West or WAC or whatever conference they're a part of now, I don't think they're necessarily that deal, but credit to Cal, you are right. That is, on paper, the best win of anybody in this next group.
That's your point. I do have Pitt at number 5. I was captivated by their Backyard Brawl win. I have been captivated so far by Eli Holstein, and I think Narduzzi's doing a heck of a job, especially coming off of like an extremely forgettable season. He's probably lucky he's at Pitt, because if he was coaching certain other programs, they wouldn't have even brought him back for this season.
Yeah, you're going.
Get out.
You're going. Get out.
So he actually gets a chance to correct it. He's doing that. I've got Syracuse at number 6.
I was about to say, don't let Jackson get a hold of you if you didn't have him at 6.
Well, he's going to get on me for not having him at number 1. We know how Jackson is. And then I've got NC State at number 7, because I still have faith in their. Do you think that's the team you cover and you played on? Do you think that's too high?
It's much too high, because with all due respect, NC State is a team that lacks an identity right now. If I were to tell you of the first 3 games that you've seen them play, what's their identity? Do they run the ball physically? Do they throw the ball downfield well?
No.
Is their quick passing game hitting on something? Defensively, are their defensive backs just all over the place, constantly creating turnovers? Are they great tacklers that, hey, they may not be the fastest, but when they get there, you're going down. So I think that Dave Doran is in year 12, so I'm not going to call them a rudderless ship. Yeah. But what I will say is this is a team without a definitive identity, and that this is who we are. NC State prides themselves on being a hand in the dirt ag school, which we are. We absolutely are that. But right now, we're not showing we're hand in the dirt people, because tackling is one of the most hand in the dirt things you can do. That's one of the grittiest, nastiest, grimiest things you do. I'm going to get you on the ground. They've struggled to do that. Louisiana Tech breaking off 60-yarders where you miss 5 tackles. You can't live like that. Tennessee breaking off shovel passes where they're going for 17 yards on 3rd and 14 because you missed 5 tackles. You can't live like that. So I think that's a little high for NC State, even though I love me some CJ Bailey. Even though we got to do QB1, I think it's a little high.
Yeah. Well, what's ironic was I ranked NC State so high because I didn't want to upset you, but then I ended up upsetting you because I ranked them too high. So then at number 8, I've got Boston College. They showed me again a lot of toughness in that Mizzou loss, which they really had no bit. Yeah, they had okay. I got Georgia Tech 9 And then like I didn't really know what to do with North Carolina. Like they haven't played anybody. They've been winning their games. So I put North Carolina 10. Do you are you you said Boston College probably too low on my list. What about Georgia Tech at 9, North Carolina at 10?
I agree with both of those. I think that both of those are perfectly placed, because the minute that you want to give your hopes to Georgia Tech, the minute that you're like, he's the guy, he's got it figured out, they have that game where you're just left saying, wait, what happened? Wait, how did this go down? So, and North Carolina, I agree, they haven't really been tested much, and it's tough to say yay or nay about a team that hasn't had their chin tapped once or twice during the season yet.
By the way, as soon as I rattle off the rest of these, I want to I don't want to spoil it now, but as soon as I rattle them off, I'm going to screen share with my document so you guys can screenshot it and tell me how wrong I am in a few weeks. I've got Virginia Tech at number 11, which is, kind of disappointing because I had them in my top 5 preseason. I can't forgive them for that Vanderbilt embarrassment. I've got Duke at number 12. Like, Duke is just all right. Malik Murphy's playing well, so it's like they at the quarterback position they're doing fine. Another major disappointment, I've got SMU at 13. They just, they have been that they have not done what Cal has done as new members of the ACC. Will say that. The rest of these, I don't know. I got Stanford at 14. Mm-hmm. I've got Virginia at 15. I've got Wake Forest at 16. And who's left, Kenton? Who have I not mentioned who will be number 17 on my power rankings?
Could it be a team that has a fan who owes a debt? A very big debt, which may be collected upon nationally. I have no clue. Interesting. Oh, it's the Noles. It's the Noles. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Yes, the Noles are the only team left.
And listen, like, I know if someone wanted to argue with me that, like, if Florida State were to match up, this weekend with Virginia or with Wake Forest, that they would be favored to win both of those games, you're probably right. But they were favored to beat Memphis. They were favored to beat Georgia Tech. They were favored to beat Boston College. They haven't done it. Kenton, Florida State, I saw this, I was watching ACC Network this afternoon, and they pointed out, that media poll comes out every year in, late July or early August of conference winners. Florida State has become the first preseason ACC favorite to start their year 0-3. So they have that distinction right now. So that is that's my power ranking. Florida State at 17, Wake Forest 16, Virginia 15, Stanford 14, SMU, Duke, Virginia Tech, UNC at 10, Georgia Tech, Boston College, NC State, too high at 7. I didn't want to piss Kenton off. Syracuse at 6. I didn't want to make Jackson upset. I should have ranked them higher. Pitt 5, Cal 4, Clemson 3, Louisville 2, Miami 1. And of course, that cannot be disputed until some of these teams let me down, and then we'll revisit this in a couple weeks.
I will say this, and I want to leave it right here. For anybody who's upset at us for putting Florida State at 17, or for me not disagreeing with Florida State at 17, what other ACC team is 0-3? What other ACC team has a loss to a group of 5 school combined with no wins outside of that? Objectively speaking, when we look at the results, that's why I have NC State at below 7, because they have a grinded out win against a FCS team in Western Carolina, a grinded out team against the Louisiana Tech team that's won 3 games a year for the past 2-3 years. I can't put them high. Even if I want to say, oh, Tennessee is going to be a national champ, throw that game up, I still cannot put that team higher. So, Florida State, based on the results that we've seen, they smell like dog doo-doo that their no 3-2-1 needs to have a date with. It smells like something he's got an appointment with.
Well, I had a great time today, and huge thanks to Brian Smith for joining us early to talk about Florida State. He is Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. I am Alex Donno from Locked On Canes. Guys, make sure you check out Locked On College Football. I would imagine anyone who's listening to this right now is probably a college football fan. You need to check out the work that Spencer McLaughlin is doing on Locked On College Football. Like this show, it's available free wherever you get your podcasts and available free on YouTube. We'll talk to you again next time on another episode of Locked On ACC. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.